All right, so we were out at the range and we didn't really have much time to talk about this, and my brother also got a Savage .17 that you'll see in the video, I think, mixed up a little bit. And we kind of wanted to get back into precision shooting, and what better way than to get into it with a rimfire. Affordability, I mean, there's no way you're going to get a precision rifle other than rimfire for less than $1,000 like you can with this bad boy right here. And the application is the same. I mean, if you get good at shooting this, then the only transition you have to do when you go up in caliber is, I mean, you have to manage recoil a little bit better. That's it. So, and there's ways to mitigate that as well, like having a threaded barrel that you can put a compensator on the end, which is good. So we didn't get a chance really to talk about the specifications, so I said, well, I'll do a wrap-up, kind of my impression of it, almost like a mini review. We didn't do an unbox, we didn't do anything like that, because we bought this rifle used, and we were very lucky to find it, because it was just kind of a spur-of-the-moment thing. My cousin's store out in Richmond, Ontario, that hunting store, had one on consignment, and I was like, yeah, we need this. So my son purchased the rifle and I got the scope. So it's like a 50-50 deal, because we both want to use it, we both want to practice with it. So it worked out for us. So without further ado, let me introduce the Savage B-22 Precision Rimfire Rifle. Okay, as you can see, it is a very sleek looking, very like you know, matte black. It's not flashy, there's nothing cool on it. I guess the only flashy part on this would be the accu-trigger, which is kind of like a bronze-ish orange, which is way cool, and it stands out. So I'll talk about a little bit about the specs. It is on an MDT aluminum chassis, okay? And MDT is a really cool company. It stands for Modular Driven Technologies, and it's 100% Canadian. And they're kind of putting out these chassis, and if you haven't seen them, you should check it out. Maybe I'll drop a link down in the description if you can't find it yourself, but it's MDT. And they make some really neat chassis for all kinds of firearms. There's one in there I saw for the Tikka T3. There's the old Weatherby Vanguard. Of course, there's your Remington 700 platforms. And again, 100% Canadian, but quality stuff. And I would say they are going to compete, if not surpass, companies like Magpul as far as the chassis. They might not be able to compete with like companies like Macmillan or Cadex, but anyway, a very tight chassis, a nice package put together with the Savage B-22 barrel. Feels very robust. It feels every bit as cool as what it looks like. If you're talking about precision rimfire, I mean, obviously you're talking about a bolt action, right? And you can see how smooth that is. I mean, it glides. I like the cocking handle on it, or the bolt itself. It's got a really nice feel. I kind of wish maybe there was a little bit of knurling to it, then it wouldn't feel so slippery, but there's no problem at all working this action if you want. There's a ton of reviews on this rifle. People seem to gravitate towards it because it's a pretty good price. What is this going to set you back? $659 US or $839 Canadian. Like I said already, we were lucky enough to find this thing used, so we got it for like $5 and change, I think it was, which is a really good price because these rifles typically do not get abused, and this certainly didn't get abused, in really good condition. It's got an 18-inch barrel on it, which is more than enough for 22 rimfire. 22 long rifle is what it's chambered in. 10-round capacity magazine. If I'm going to talk about something that kind of drives me a little bit bonkers, it's this Savage rotary magazine. I'm not really all that keen on it. I don't like how it disconnects. I know why they did it this way. They wanted a flush fit mag, and as you can see when you put this in there, I mean, it's very flush, but I don't really like it. I don't like how the magazine ejects. I don't like the rotary system in it. And I'll tell you, if you're firing quite a few rounds, especially if they're lead nose, what can happen, and I've seen it happen a couple times while we were shooting, is you will scrape or rub the top of the next round in the feed when you chamber the first one. So what that does is it creates a little divot on the top of your lead nose on your 22, and bullets don't like to have little divots in them. It can change the trajectory and it can mess with your grouping. So if you're doing hardcore grouping practice, it's not the greatest. Other than that, I mean, it works fine. I did not experience, like some people did when they were talking about failure to extract or failure to feeds. I think I had 2 failure to feeds, and they were operator error, i.e. the magazine wasn't fully seated or it didn't come all the way back when I was racking the action. Length of pull is adjustable on this chassis, so that's kind of cool. It's a 12 3/4 all the way up to 13 3/4. So if you have long arms, you'll have no problem. You can see the pads here, so like they're stackable. So what you do is unscrew the butt and then pull pads or add them or however as you see fit. It's not a folding stock. I wouldn't want a folding stock in a Precision 22. I want less moving parts in a chassis. Overall length of this rifle is 36.625 inches or 93.028 centimeters. It's got a 1 in 16 twist, so it's really getting that that cartridge spinning quite fast before it comes out of the barrel. And with a lower grain bullet like a 22, you want that because you want it very stable in flight. It weighs in at 7.38 pounds, which is pretty chunky when you consider things for a 22. I mean, the workmanship though and how it's put together is definitely quality. I'm really happy with this thing, and I think my son enjoys shooting it as much as I do. Like I said, you get good shooting this, and then you go up to a larger caliber rifle, and it's just, you know, managing the recoil. I topped it off with probably one of the less expensive scopes you can find out there. This one was on clearance. It's a Riton 1, and I mean, it came with the caps, which is cool to protect your ocular. It's a 6-24 by 50, which works for me. It is a first focal plane, which is very cool. And it also has turret stops. So once you get your 0, you lock it in place. There's little spacers, and then even if you are playing with the elevation or the windage, you can go back to 0 just by basically turning it back to 0, which is pretty cool. I like that system. I like the exposed turret on it, especially if you're messing around with it. And it does have a parallax zoom. And if you can see that on the side, here is your parallax zoom. So some people put it up on the top. I prefer it over here because that hand is spare basically while I'm shooting. I might use it to tuck the rifle into my shoulder, but that's about it, kind of thing. And then it has got this really nice throw on here for your magnification. No problem at all. Everything seems to like work really well. You can hear the, well, you won't hear the clicks, probably not on the camera, but they're very solid, very succinct, and the lines even line up. So overall, very good, very clear glass for a budget-minded scope. And the safety is on the tang, which I really like. But because of this chassis, it's a little bit tricky to get to. I mean, it's down a ways. You can still work it, but it's just a little bit tricky. Got a big fat grip on it. Apparently they are compatible with AR style. I would assume they are, although this is a really nice big fat grip, and I don't know why you would want to change that. It hugs the hand very well, fills my big mitts, and my son uses it as well, and he hasn't complained about it. So very, very, very comfortable rifle to shoot. When you are at, I just want to talk a little bit about some of the targets, because I mean, you know, if you're getting a young person into shooting and you kind of want to make it fun for them, there's all kinds of stuff that's available now. This is a, basically you can pay battleship. So, you know, put that down at 50 meters, 25 meters, whatever, and take turns shooting. If you have different rifles, or you could use the same rifle. You could do 5 at a time if you wanted, or 10 at a time. And basically, it's battleship. You try and sink the other guy's battleship. If you go online, you can download all kinds of targets, you know, grouping practice targets, This one is from a UK corporation that does bench rest shooting. So you don't have to spend a bunch of money. You could even go arts and crafts. These I picked up, I think they were like $3 for a pack of these targets in the States. Get a pack of paper plates, get a black marker, draw on them, put an orange circle in the middle of it, and I mean, go for it. It's really not complicated, but this is an outstanding way to hone your skills if you want to get into long distance or grouping targets. This is the B-22. There's a lot of other 22 precision rifles out there. This is the one that I happen to go with. I like Savage firearms, and this one has worked very well. I don't even know if I have, do I have an example of the groupings that we were shooting? I don't believe I do. But you get a couple of flyers, and I played around with different ammunition. I would get a couple of flyers occasionally. It wasn't that bad, and I think it was just because I was using like a lead nose Aguila, or there was even a CCI target, standard target load that I was using as well that had a lead nose, and it really didn't like that. Like I said, once in a while it would just scrape the top of it, and that's enough to really send that round flying all over the place. But I didn't have any failure to eject. That apparently is a quasi problem with this firearm. I didn't have any of that, so I don't know, maybe it's already been fixed. Maybe the guy who had it previous had that issue and took care of it, but I can't swear to it because it never happened to me. Anyway, if you guys are in the market for a Precision 22, and I would say if you're serious about getting good at shooting, go out and pick a 22 up. It's the cheapest ammo you can shoot. Something like this, you don't have to spend a bunch of money on the scope itself. You can get very good and accurate with this package right here, and this whole thing cost us less than $1,000. So again, I am the guy with beard, guns, and gear. I hope you like this. Please click that like, subscribe, share with your friends. We just went over 600 subscribers, and that is thanks to you guys and spreading the word, and I appreciate that. You guys have a wonderful evening.